Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In the ongoing coverage of the civil war that is taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, the fighting continues. We continue to receive reports of a redeployment of Tigrayan defense forces from the Afar frontal zone or the Afar area of operations. Again, not an overly significant portion of the ongoing fight that is occurring, but there are definite forces of the Tigrayan Defense Forces that have been deployed, in some cases, some fairly significant amounts. But nothing compared to what we are seeing along the southern, the southwestern, and the southeastern, and the south central front that is occurring inside of the Amhara region. But with that being said, we are seeing a fairly significant portion of those forces in the Afar region being redeployed into the Amhara region. And we are also seeing continued movement of reserve forces and newly trained forces of the Tigrayan Defense Forces being moved from central Tigray, from southeastern Tigray into the Amhara region. It would appear at this point the general war strategy or war goal of the Tigrayan Defense Forces is to continue to create strategic depth and create conditions where the war is being fought inside of the Amhara region and not the Tigray region. And we are seeing that take place in very significant form. So, for instance, we are starting to see the use of heavy artillery by the Ethiopian military, the indiscriminate use of unguided munitions via aircraft in the Amhara region, and we are also starting to see the deployment of possible drone use inside of the Amhara region as well. And unfortunately, the use of these sorts of assets, the heavy artillery, the use of aircraft that do not have the more advanced targeting pods and laser guided munitions will in fact stray and hit civilian targets, or in fact civilian targets could be mistaken for military targets and attack. So, for instance, convoys of civilian personnel of, say, the Amhara ethnic group that may be fleeing areas such as Mursa or other areas south of the or north of the combat zone in Amhara proper could be targeted by the Ethiopian Air Force, and we're starting to see that occur in its first stages because of the use of the air power inside of the Amhara region. But again, it would appear that from a strategy standpoint, the Tigrayan Defense Forces are really pouring in much of its resources into the Amhara region to continue its operations in the Amhara region and to prevent any sort of counterattack by the reserve forces of the Amhara paramilitary forces that are currently being mobilized. But that is pretty much the status quo right now. We continue to hear reports of possible drone use. There was a video documentation of or video evidence of a T-72 that had been struck by some sort of ordnance. Now, the way the tank looked, the catastrophic damage that occurred, obviously the ammo inside of the ammo carousel under the turret had detonated. It's possible that it was some sort of top attack munition commonly used by drones. Was it an Iranian drone? Was it a Turkish drone? It's hard to say. But at the same time, with that being said, we are not seeing the precision drone strikes by drones on a massive scale. We are seeing them in terms, if they are in fact being used, we're seeing them in onesies and twosies, so to speak. The the strategy of the Tigrayan Defense Forces in terms of its methodology of transport and movement to a certain area continues to remain the same. If we were seeing the widespread use of drones that inherently would be targeting these convoys, we would start to see these convoys start to spread out and look a little different in their tactics in terms of how they are moving on the battlefield. But right now, the fear conditions of possible drone strikes simply do not seem to be present in terms of how the Tigrayan Defense Forces are reacting to that possible threat. So if it's not being utilized on a scale that is causing the TDF to change some of its tactics and methods of movement, especially over roadway in column and at times fairly tightly compacted against a standard operating procedure that you would see in sometimes other militaries. You would not see that if the drone use was prevalent. But nevertheless, we are starting to hear of the possible deployment of drones in the vicinity south of Wildea, now in Mersa and south of Mersa. We are hearing a fairly significant combat taking place near and south of Mersa towards Hike. The fighting again is very intense. I had reported a couple videos back that there is a very large amount of both Amhara and Ethiopian military, more so Amhara regional militia forces that have been recruited. But there is a significant amount in the Dese Kombolcha gap. That is right here where my cursor is hovering above, and we can continue to see those forces engage the TDF forces as they move south. And then obviously we are also seeing the Amhara militia and the Ethiopian army elements also attempt to move north, which is causing some overlap in lines, and we continue to see very, very heavy battles take place as the fighting continues. There is also fighting occurring west of Lalibela, to be more specific, at Debre Zabit. There's fighting in the vicinity of Debre Zabit and Nefes Micha, and I would identify that as the south central frontal zone, and that would be again Weldia southeastern frontal zone. Lalibela is the centralized frontal zone running from west of Sakota down west of Lalibela, and obviously the southwestern frontal zone ranging from Debark to Dabat and south of Dabat as the TDF continue to press south towards its goal of eventually taking Gondar. Will they take Gondar? Again, we continue to see large deployments and large reserve call-ups of forces, and that would have to be sorted out eventually. But Dabar continues to be besieged. Battles continue near and south of Dabat, and then obviously this is a very ongoing, high-intensity conflict that continues. And it could last months, if not longer, depending on what happens both tactically in terms of these engagements, and then obviously strategically what happens as well. But that's the status right now inside of the fighting that is taking place inside the Amhara region. Again, these reports in which we had heard that Weldia was seized, that Mersa was seized, Sakota was seized, appear to be fictitious in nature and simply not true at this point. We can confirm that it looks like the fighting moved from Debre Tabor east of Debre Tabor and is now occurring near Debre Zibit. So you could say that there was some advance taking place by the Amhara regional forces in the vicinity of Debre Tabor, and they have seen some minor successes in terms of pushing towards Lalibela and Debre Zabit. But Gashina still remains firmly in the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. There was also some reporting being done that Gashina had fallen, and it's possible that elements of some Amhara militia group tried to enter or did enter Gashina for a short period of time, and then were driven off. But right now, everything, all the information that we have, all the intel that Military and Foreign Affairs Network has, is that Gashina is firmly under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. In other areas of the country, just real quick, the Oromo Liberation Army continues its activity. I'd mentioned before in an earlier video, it is sowing utter chaos in Western Oromia, in southeastern Oromia as well. That situation has not changed. The OLA continue vigorous operations against the security apparatus of the Ethiopian state in the Oromia region, and at some point, I believe the eventual goal is to link up possibly with Tigrayan Defense Forces, most likely in the eastern part of the country, near the Amhara region at some point, if there continues to be this push south by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. But that is to be seen at this point, and that is my report for today. We will continue to monitor the situation and report. Have a great day, everybody.